like Big Bro got a hot witch girlfriend and Lil Bro got upset. But that's just me.
Tragedy strikes the town of Gravesfield as Luce and Hunter are haunted by the past in the form of one goopy Belos. The Owl House hit us with a major loss for both the characters and the audience. As I finished this episode with tears forming in my eyes, the only words that could come out of my mouth were, I called it! Oh, come on, it's a joke.
You need to leave!
Hey, whoa. Thanks to them was an emotionally charged season premiere that managed to squeeze in so much that I'm not trying to rush out an in-depth breakdown and end up overlooking something major. So while I'm cooking up that monster of a video, I thought I'd still throw in my 2 cents on some of the episode's major moments. We did have a lot of theories come true, we had theories that didn't come true, and a whole lot of questions of what comes next. Also, if you haven't checked out the episode, but clicked on this video for any reason, or just want to rewatch the episode, you can check it out on Disney Channel's YouTube channel for free if you live in America. I'm sorry the mouse is gatekeeping. Oh, and as always, if you want your fan art featured in our breakdown of the episode, please tag us at Roundtable Vids and at Vox on Twitter and Instagram. So let's waste no time and just jump right into Flapjack. Yeah, as predicted in our video appropriately titled, We Know Who Dies in the Owl House Season 3, Flapjack did not survive to the end of the episode. And although the execution was different from what I expected, in that Belos wasn't going after the Palisman to get his physical form back, and just wanted petty revenge, I pretty much nailed the general beats that made up Flapjack's death. Flapjack still ended up sacrificing himself. Belos still managed to get away, and Hunter, now fully detached from Belos, has more motivation than ever to put an end to his tyranny. Now, let's be real, I don't think Flapjack was necessarily the hardest death to predict. We just didn't want to see it happen. Again, we've already seen Palisman die on the show before, that's literally how Belos was introduced. It's the most family-friendly death they could have pulled off in the show. And as I mentioned in that theory video, by the end of Season 2, Flapjack has fulfilled his role in the story. When he was introduced, sure, there was an air of mystery around him that was obviously tied to Belos, but the show made it pretty clear that above everything else, he was Hunter's first true friend. One he unfortunately had to keep secret from Belos, lest the Emperor use Flapjack as juice to keep himself going. But over the course of Season 2, we witnessed Hunter form bonds with Luce, Gus, Willow, and Darius. People who, and I say this as someone who's obsessed with their pet, have way more in common with Hunter and can push him further along in his social development by virtue of being human or humanoid. Couple this with Belos running low on Palisman, growing distrustful of Hunter, and the whole hollow mind incident, and you'll see how Flapjack was always set up to be a dead bird walking. It's also the straw that needed to be broken in order for Hunter to let go of any remaining attachment to Belos and recognize him for the monster he is, figuratively and literally. Throughout Hollow Mind, we saw Hunter struggle to come to terms with the reality of the situation, and learning he was a Grimwalker only made things worse. These were things we never saw him come to terms with, and it all came to a head in King's Tide during the brief confrontation between Hunter and Belos. Belos immediately tried to manipulate Hunter, breaking out his human face and all. And while Hunter knew his uncle was lying, he was scared and clearly was grappling with a lot of confusing emotions. This scene made it crystal clear Belos still had some power over Hunter. This episode was built around Hunter finally regaining his confidence, standing up to Belos, and quite literally breaking free from his control. And the catalyst to him breaking free was the very moment Belos cracked Flapjack open. Tough to see, man. And then he had Luce being all, oh, you're gonna be okay, Flapjack. Why are you lying to him? He even kinda give her that look like, girl, why are you lying? Just let me go out.
Flapjack, you'll be okay.
Bruh.
This episode also heavily implied that Flapjack either belonged to Evelyn, the Clawthorn that fell in love with Caleb, which we totally called, and you can deny it, but Evelyn, Gwendolyn, Edalyn, come on. Or it implies that Evelyn and Caleb carved Flapjack together, given that Belos treated Flapjack as an outlet to redirect his anger towards.
Goodbye, Evelyn.
I am glad that Flapjack's sacrifice wasn't him just taking the hit for someone, but instead was him healing Hunter and kind of becoming one with him. It was a very fitting end, and it was a way that allowed him to go out as a hero without being a pawn in Belos' plan. Also, okay, so I'm a huge Chainsaw Man fan. As you know if you've been following me on Twitter and Instagram, just posting about it nonstop, and my icon drawn by the lovely Janky Bones. I've been obsessed with the manga for like a year, and the first episode of the anime just rolled out, so if you watch that, you'll know what I mean when I say that Hunter now reminds me of Denji, being one of their pet best friend who was also their first real friend. Rest in peace, Flapjack. Let us take a moment of silence for the fallen. While we're here, let's also talk about the Whittabane Bros. So a major piece of information that we received in this episode that wasn't something we could figure out from the paintings in Hollow Mind is that Philip and Caleb were orphans who came to Gravesfield, and that Philip was the younger brother while Caleb was older by a few years. I think it definitely shoots down the idea that Jacob Hopkins was a descendant of the Whittabanes, despite how much it checked out to me with the visual similarities and the fact that Jacob was a modern-day witch hunter, or at least aspired to be. Because if they were orphaned, then they didn't have any relatives to continue the bloodline after they disappeared. And sure, maybe Philip did find a girl and they got jiggy with it before he went to the demon realm, but he just gives such beta incel energy. I feel like if he felt the touch of a woman, he starts screaming all, "Witch! Witch!" And it'd be like, dude, that's not a witch, that's just Carly from down the street. She wanted your number, Goofy. We also learned that they only became witch hunters once they arrived in Gravesfield in order to fit in. They needed to conform, which is a huge detail to have in Belos' backstory because he himself brought conformity to the Boiling Isles with the Coven system. It seems like because of this, and because Caleb was older and thus more emotionally developed than Philip, he was able to recognize witch hunting for how twisted and cruel it actually was, while Philip was successfully indoctrinated into this culture. And what Caleb saw right through, Philip took everything in as truth. It's crazy how much info one line of dialogue can convey, and how this line gives us a much better understanding of Belos. I mean, don't get me wrong, dude still sucks. He doesn't get any sympathy from me, but clearly he was brainwashed from a young age. Funny, considering he thinks Luce and everyone else is brainwashed. Lastly on this subject, the show low-key confirmed that when Philip stabbed Caleb, it was a literal backstab, given that Belos, completely out of it after being kicked out of Hunter's body, asked if Caleb would stab him in the back, only for Luce to say, "You did it first."
Caleb, you would stab me in the back?
You did it to him first.
While we didn't get an actual flashback, we learned quite a bit. I also want to touch on Possessed Hunter real quick, and generally just Belos in this episode. Frankly, I wanted more. And that's not me saying I wanted to see more of Hunter suffering or anything along those lines. I'm saying this was our Halloween special, but the first half of it was kind of lacking in the Halloween vibes. I just wanted a smidge more horror in my horror comedy. The idea of Belos jumping from different animals in search of Titan's blood, consuming their flesh in the process, and leaving nothing but bones behind was insane. I feel like if Disney wasn't encouraging their programming to be more family friendly and sanitized in recent years, and of course a longer runtime, they would have done way more of this concept. But this was the kind of stuff I was expecting when the series was first announced. Possessed Hunter, while a chilling climax for the episode, definitely deserved more than one scene. Just for the design alone, I mean, it's so dope. The fight, while short-lived, was great with beautiful animation from Tom Barkle, and we finally got to see V fight. And while I'm seeing a lot of Kirby comparisons, I was reminded of the Gooms from Infinity Train. Imagine Belos going out like Simon. Side note, I don't like that V is staying on Earth, because I wanted to see more of her. But I'm happy we at least got to see some great moments for her character here. I also want to shed some light on Camilla's character, and how they fleshed her out a bit more, showing that she was always in Luce's corner. We learn that she is a lot like Luce, a huge nerd. She collects Star Trek novels. She finds Luce's quirks endearing, and from what we can surmise, Luce's dad Manny was a goofball himself. And we learned that he seemed to pass away from a terminal illness, given that he was in the hospital for quite some time. But circling back to Camilla, we learned that she was also bullied in high school, which caused her to look out for Luz in ways that she could have done a bit, better, because Luz perceived that concern and projection as shame. But I'm glad we got to set the record straight. Camilla rocked this episode, and I'm excited to see her in the Boiling Isles. Last but not least in things I want to touch on, but still have content for the breakdown, this episode had a lot of snake imagery. I'd be very, very surprised if Luz's talisman isn't a snake at this point, or incorporates snakes. Also, I hope it hatches before the final battle, but at this point, we're not seeing it before the end of the second special at the earliest. It's all good though, because ultimately, while the pacing won't be perfect this season, it's pretty easy to recognize that the team is doing their best and then some. This was a pretty good start to the season, and I've seen a lot of people call this their new favorite episode. I don't know if I'm in the same boat to call it my favorite, but I definitely enjoyed it. But let us know what you guys thought of this 45-minute special. Where do you see the season going from here? And how about those beautiful illustrations in the credits, huh? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going by giving us a follow at OstricVox and at Roundtable Vids on both Twitter and Instagram. Remember, the full breakdown's still coming. Be sure to check out Toon Drip with our dope Owl House inspired designs. Maybe we'll have more on the way soon. Maybe something Hunter related. Link in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. See ya!